everybody. Welcome to today's episode. We have a special guest here, actually a great friend and business partner of mine, Grant Doherty. He has actually been selling Final Expense 100% over the phone for the last 15 years. So he's been doing Final Expense telesales since before telesales was even a thing. And at that time, no one even thought it could be done. So Grant's going to be sharing some of his unique experiences on how he started and maybe some differences between then and now and some challenges he faced and how that can help you all, because I promise it was a lot more challenging and difficult back then when carriers, they didn't even think that was a possibility. So Grant and I both work together here at Senior Life Services, SLS. Grant's dad started SLS about
41 years ago.
41 years ago. Yeah, so 41 years. So insurance has been Grant's family, but he's taken the horse by the reins, you could say, and him and his family, and they're leading this company into a huge direction. So we're going to learn from Grant here. So Grant, why don't you say a little bit about yourself, and we'll get into the whole thing.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. And Justin has been tremendous part of our growth and part of our SLS family in just 3 short years. And so it's inspiring to me what you've done in such a short time, and it gives hope, because I use Justin as an example of, well, how fast could I get here? And I always can use Justin as an example. So it's exciting to see your journey, where you've come from, where you are, and where you're going, and how we're going to continue to grow together. So thanks for having me on, Justin. We go back to, when I was in college. I went to University of Florida over in Gainesville, and I got one of the summers, I got my insurance license. I was 20, so I think that was like 2007. So 2007, I believe, is when I got my license. Summer of 2007. I did work in the field. Back then our agency was solely going door to door, kitchen table sales. Doing well, having good growth, and that's just kind of the way it was. Everyone's plugging the appointments into their Garmins, and Garmin's was a huge thing. It was a huge thing then, and I remember going on the ride-alongs and eventually going door-to-door myself with leads that weren't very good, but we made it work. And starting out with, I just knew what my dad's built and what people were doing at the time, but then there started to be these rumblings of, and I was going back to school at this time. So I was, still very much, doing 2 different things, and it was hard for me to focus on the insurance solely because I was still getting my degree. But there was these rumblings of, telesales, and these people are doing this it was experimental, Justin. It was like crazy to think that you could do this over the phone. It really was. People look at you like you had 10 heads. If you're like, oh, well, telesales, like, what are you talking about? Are you from the future? And it's funny looking back at it. It's like, I sound like an old man talking about this, but talking about like generation. Oh, back when I was your age. But no, we researched it. There's a couple companies that were pioneering it. We worked with a few of these companies. Some of the people eventually just kind of trying to figure out what are they doing? How can we replicate this? How can we scale this out eventually? But there was just so much red tape at the time, Justin, where there's so many things and very few companies doing it. So even if we could figure it out, it was tough. So that was a challenge. But eventually when we graduated, and as many viewers may know, James Whitley, who's our other business partner, he's also actually, James is my my fraternity brother from University of Florida, and he was working corporate America doing his whole thing. And 2008 happened. I guess it sucked, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise, because then when our business was taking off with Final Expense and everything started really taking off in the midst of this recession of 2008, it was an opportunity to get a capable guy and friend in James to join to pioneer this telesales operation. So once we did that, again, this was like, we're just out of college. I'm pretty immature. James has moves from Orlando to Vero Beach. We're trying to figure this thing out. We don't know what the heck we're doing. And just being honest, I know how to sell door to door, but we're learning this stuff, and having to work on, with these pioneering companies, trying to pick people's brains, write our own script, figure this thing out. And so there was a lull of a few years where there just wasn't much going on, Justin. I mean, it was just, we don't have it figured out. We have one company. It's experimental. We were like the redheaded stepchilds of SLS at that time. They called us special projects. They sat us in the back at all the conferences. They sat us in the back of the room. They're like, oh, they wanted to call us marketing and special project. I mean, it was like kind of embarrassing, honestly, at the time, because there's nothing going on, and we're lucky to, we're maybe making $30,000 a year, maybe. Like at the time, I'm serious, like $30,000 a year, and we're trying to figure this thing out, and eventually, we worked and we had to come up with the script. I mean, back then, a day in the life of how we did this, Justin, was like, we started in the back of the customer service department of SLS. So there's people with their headsets on, helping clients, helping existing agents, and we're sitting in the back with a handheld telephone. With there were computers, but we didn't like have our own. We had to like share a computer. Didn't know what the heck we were doing. We had a book called the Pill Book, which we were told to buy. It's as big as the Bible, and it has every pill known to man. And it tells you, like, we'd have to like search the pill, like whatever prescription. We'd do our field underwriting, talking to clients, and we'd have to know, hey, what do we do from here? We look at the pill book, and is it, what is it for? Writing this down. I had a bunch of legal pads like this, and we wrote down all their medications. It was just very archaic. And, literally try it. You've been on presentations, try holding a handheld phone like up to your ear with music. Not music, with people talking in the background the entire day, the whole day. And I'm sitting here like this. you do the whole change shoulders thing, Justin. And I tell you what, it got old quick. But then I remember like a year into it, we got these like, these cutting edge like ear things. They would go one in your ear and they one over your ear. So that was awesome. We got that after a year or two. But then those things even hurt your ears after a while. It wasn't like the nice Bluetooth things that we have now, noise canceling, all that stuff. We didn't really have that. But, it was tough. It was a challenge. We had an old script, experimental script, trying to do this. One company. It was definitely difficult. But, there was a point when things changed. We really started getting really serious. Again, one company's tough. And we used to have to burn the voice signatures onto CDs. And some of you guys are like, what's a CD? Some of you guys aren't that young. But literally CDs, compact discs. And we had to burn the voice signature from our Dell PC, right, which would glitch out.
With the tube monitor?
Yeah, literally. And we had a big spool of blank CDs, like we were burning CDs, And we'd have to put like Mary Jones... something, this is the client, Mary Jones, and I'd put like Grant Doherty, agent number, blank, 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 blank on the CD. I have to put it into a CD sleeve. I would have to write out the entire paper applications. First, we had to send them and get signatures back, but then we eventually got them to do the voice recording and attach those. But we still had to fill out the whole paper application. So it would be a paper application entirely filled out correctly. Otherwise, you wouldn't get paid. And then we would have to burn the CD, put it into a little CD sleeve, and then paper clip it to each app. And then each week we'd have to send a stack of applications, like priority mail, to the carriers.
Wow.
And so we didn't get paid until not only did they get that, not only did the CD work, and they could listen. Sometimes the CD they couldn't listen, they couldn't hear it, it was scratched. Oh my gosh! But we would eventually get paid on it. So that's just a taste of what we had to go through, and where we are now. So it's like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So. So you would tape it to it. You put it recorded on a tape and then burn it to a CD.
Yeah. We had a handheld recorder.
Okay.
Handheld recorder. Yeah. Then we would plug the USB into the computer, and then we'd have to upload it to the computer, and then we would have to download the CD, and the CD would take 10 minutes to burn.
So handheld recorder, would you put the phone on speakerphone and hold the recorder near the phone?
Yeah. No, wow. Seriously. We would. We had to actually take the recorder, and we would have to hold the recorder, and then we would have them listen. It was just, and we had to make sure it was loud enough. Yeah, it was pretty crazy, man. So
this is James right here.
So I mean, it was. God, I tell you what, man. Like I said, it's humbling because I used to hear my dad would say stuff. Oh, he would say, son, you know what my leads were? And one time he did this for effect in a phone book. No one even knows what a phone book. We don't have phone books anymore.
No.
He plopped the phone book down and goes, this guy John Racy. He said, boom. He said, my dad was like, where are the leads? He's like, here's your leads, and he plopped the phone book down. And I was like, what a grandpa, my life was so hard back in the day type thing to say. But now it's funny because now I was like, wow, we got it so good, James. They had to do this. Oh, we got a headset. Oh my gosh, we're burning CDs. We're like in the future, right? And then now it's like we had to burn CDs back then. So now it's like I'm the next generation saying how, and I'm not complaining about how hard it was. Like we made it work, but it was definitely like super challenging. And right now, I want to tell everyone, you don't know how good you have it. You don't know how good it is to be in, to be in a recession-proof industry where you're going to build passive income. And the hardest thing to do, like we talked about even today on the Zoom, is just the daily disciplines. It's the hardest simple job you'll ever have. It's not complicated. What it does is this will expose your bad habits. It'll expose bad structure or work ethic. It's going to expose these things very easily. And if you're an excuse maker or if you're weak-minded or weak-willed, unfortunately, it will expose that very, very quickly. And you have to build that mindset. I've learned, Justin, over the years, because it was hard. Like there was a time when it wasn't really working for us, and I remember they told us to take all this trash to the landfill, to the dump, and James and I went on top of this landfill, and we were sitting on top of a dump. There's vultures everywhere. It smells horrible, and we don't know. James doesn't know if he's going to have to move back. We're going to have to give up on this dream, to give up on this new thing. And I remember being on top of that dump, and I call it like the dump moment, the landfill moment, and it's like we were like unloading garbage on this landfill because we were told to. Like, we were just young, still very young at this point. We're like, what are we doing here, man? Like, it was motivating. And we're on top of a landfill, it stinks, and James is like, this isn't what I signed up for. I need to go back to Orlando. And then we just made an agreement right there with tears in our eyes, pretty much. Like, we're making this work. I was like, you're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're gonna make it work. Like, I'm pissed off like at what's going on. We're going to change this. And that's when I started getting really serious. We started getting super serious. We didn't become each other's distractions. We became each other's allies, and we helped each other. And, I was writing self-contracts to myself every week, Justin. I was like so dialed in, no excuse, tough mindset, like killing off weakness. And I just was tunnel vision to the goal. I was like, we need to build out, we need to build this thing up. We need to learn the process. We need to get more companies. We need to iron out all the kinks, figure all this stuff out, and eventually, it took a few years, but we eventually did, and every year it seems to get better, man. Every year things improve, and I promise you this, if you are listening right now, your first year doing anything in general is going to be your hardest, but especially in the insurance industry, it's going to be the hardest because you're not getting residuals from a previous year. It's your first year. It's like I'm telling you to learn how to play the guitar, and you're frustrated because you don't know where to put your fingers. It's like, well, you got to learn how to hold the guitar, where to put your fingers, how to play a chord, then you can play a song. Some people are naturally good at it, just like in sales. But the first year you do something is always, always, always going to be the hardest. Now, it doesn't mean Grant said it's going to be a struggle. I did not say it's going to be a struggle. I'm just saying that it's going to be, of all the years, the first year is going to be the hardest because you have a natural learning curve that has to take its course, okay? But the overall trajectory of your success depends on you. Part of that's the natural learning curve, but the other part of it is what line are you going to hold? How accountable are you going to be? How hungry are you going to be? What time are you going to start? Are you going to be consistent? Will you train? Will you continue to invest in yourself? Will you do whatever it takes? Get rid of if you're coming from a 9 to 5, you have to kill the 9 to 5 mentality, and you have to be, hey, I now adapt the whatever it takes mentality. It's just you have to come to that decision. It's whatever it takes. Well, when do we stop for the day? It doesn't matter. Whatever it takes. When you hit your numbers, when you hit your metrics, when you hit your talk time, whatever that may be, you have to learn to do. That's one of the biggest things I learned, Justin, is you have to kill off that old mentality. You have to stop making excuses, and you have to show up no matter what, because a lot of days, think about it. Like, there's days you don't want to go to the gym. And on those days, do you not go to the gym, or do you just go anyways? It's like you have to kill off that the devil on the shoulder, so to speak, or that voice of suggestion. Oh, these leads stink. Oh, the leads are getting worse. It's like it's easy to get negative in this industry, but if you say, "Hey, I'm not stopping until I do this," don't say, "Oh, I'm gonna give this a month and see how it goes." You might as well not start. Give yourself an entire year. You have to have a mindset of mastery. You have to, it's not about perfection, but you got to master your craft. And because when you first start your presentation, your pre-enrollment conversation, your presentation is going to suck. You're going to be like a D plus or a C minus. But the key is, how can I learn, grow, invest in myself, structure my schedule, build the mindset to get, and also work and train every day. I said every day. Train to some extent, learn something every day, then apply it to get from a D plus to a C minus to a C to a C plus and eventually to an A. You start off as a 5 out of 10. How do I get to a 10 out of 10? Or at least a 9 out of 10, right? And then I'm going to do a whole heck of a lot more of that. Because if you have a desire to build a team, like you have a big team, but Justin you couldn't just say, "Hey, I'm building a team." Justin you had to learn.
You had to learn enough to teach people. I had to learn it so I can teach it to people. So yeah, it's a process.
Yeah. So that's so key. And if you want to eventually have major success and build a team of your own, you have to master the process yourself before you can scale out. And so I heard the other day, and I like this, it's like you have to be satisfied with a get rich slow. Now, I'm not saying it has to be slow, but not everyone wants to get rich really quick. And you can increase that curve based on how much action that you take. But you have to understand that this is a get rich over time industry, meaning your lowest income earning year should be your first year.
Yeah.
Should you make more your second year? Yep. And then
Even
your third
if you do
and
the
fourth
same
and
amount
fifth.
of work. Theoretically, because you're getting better, you can do less work your second year and make more than you made your first year. And this industry is not designed to be. Now, I don't encourage that, right? But this industry is not designed to be fun, right? Like, think of all that. Like, I'm sure think of this. Like, guys, we have CRMs. We have all the leads uploaded. You can just go online and buy leads from whatever vendors you want. What did you run into for trust issue? Like, did you run into trust issues back then? Just because it was kind of a foreign thing to people, or were people?
Oh yeah. And again, I remember the first state we called was Louisiana, and I love Louisiana to this day. If I call Louisiana, I know how to talk about their crock pots and what foods they eat and their accents and talking about. I know all the cities in Louisiana. Anyways, we would work a whole region because there's only a few of us for 6 months to a year, but I noticed, I was like, hey, a lot of these people don't have bank accounts. This is before you had to have a direct deposit for everything, right?
Check, right? They would get checks.
There'd be checks. Yeah, they would, and they would have. I was like, so many people I could have sold, they didn't have, and they really didn't have them. They're like, I want this, I just simply don't have it. I put my money in a jar and I bury it in my backyard, and people laugh at that, but it's actually a kind of a real thing. It is a real thing in their mattress, under their mattress, in their walls, But no, definitely trust issues because back then, and this was before today, mega scams and all that stuff, crazy stuff like that. But people were like, I don't do business over the phone. That was one thing that we got a lot. I don't do business over the phone because it wasn't a thing.
Exactly, yeah.
And so since that point in, 2008 to now, it's much more of a norm. It's like status quo. Just be like, hey, yeah, we're getting this done. And as long as you build your rapport, you're likable, you're credible, you take the time, you're authentic, you're a real person, you're humble, and you're presenting right. You have to develop a level of certainty. And I was always good at that, but even then, it was still a challenge. But as you get better, it gets easier and easier and easier. And some people, when they start, they say, I can't just get over this objection. I'm like, the client's not certain enough about you yet, And so creating certainty was a key that I had to learn, which stuff that, again, keep in mind, I was terrible when I started. I was just, James and I we were terrible, And so to get to where we are now, it should encourage you in an archaic, if we could make it in this archaic era of telesales, and when we were really bad, it was okay, well, I am really bad, but I'm going to take a step forward. I'm going to learn a little bit. Then every week, every month, I just refuse to stay the same. Just keep getting better. Invest in yourself in every area. Start just honing in on the stuff you need to do. But getting comfortable on the phone is one thing that we had to do. You have to just cannonball into the pool. Stop worrying about what you don't know. You have to jump right in. and be confident. And I always say, like, and I know it's been mentioned, but and I've said this for years, is be the insurance doctor. It's like, be like the cool doctor, meaning that when you have to know your identity as a professional in order to create certainty. So like, think about a cool doctor that you've had. It's like, hey, Justin, how you doing? Oh, I heard your knees bothering. Jump up here and let's take a look at it. Like, I'm friendly, but I'm also in control and I have that authority. And I think when you can have that, because if you have that as your initial voice of like a friendly authority and you establish control of that conversation, you now are able to get that certainty, and you establish like your roles on the phone. Like, you're not asking for permission. Like, you're the one that's telling them what to do, essentially, in a nice way as a professional, so that they listen to you. You go through that. They're certain in what they believe in you. You act as if you are the professional, and you continue that tone, and you're going to get less of that. So, but when we started, even though we were doing that and we learned to do that, there was still much, much more of a challenge back then. And so nowadays it's a lot easier to get that.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, man. So that was some challenges. Did you have, and this is so I see a lot of new agents, let's preface this a little bit. I see a lot of new agents have issues with staying consistent and know what consistency means, because just putting in like staying focused on what income producing activities are, making sure you're reaching out to as many people as you can, getting in touch with as many people as you can. We make it as easy as possible for our agents here by providing them essentially an unlimited amount of leads to call.
Yep.
That's not going to hurt them. It's not going to take any money out of their pocket, so we don't charge people out of a directly out of their pockets for leads. But like, how did you stay consistent starting, and did you have issues with that consistency? Because now you got your stuff together, but like then, was it okay? Cool, and I did too, and that's why I wanted to talk about this, because like, we may be up here saying, hey, look at these guys, they got their stuff together, but if you don't remember from one of my previous videos, I had some really like very unstructured, chaotic things in my past, right? Not everybody was like just always on the ball. So, what issues did you struggle with consistency? What helped you stay focused, and maybe was there a turning point other than the dump moment?
The dump moment. Yeah. No, consistency is still to this day is very hard for me, which is why you learn through hard times, Justin. You learn, like, this is what I need. You have to have an ability to be completely and brutally honest with yourself for the sake of growth and consistency and discipline. And like I said, I'm not good with discipline. I'm not a morning person. But do I wake up in the morning? Yeah. But am I a morning person? Heck no. I'm not a morning person. How many people are actually morning people? Very few. I struggle with consistency. I have a super addictive personality, like Justin. I have a super addictive personality, and so I'm aware of that, and I'm honest with that. So I'm like, okay, how can I like trick my brain here? It's like, if you need help with your habits, which most people do, you have The Power of Habit, Atomic Habits, books like that can really help you. If you haven't read those, do that. If you struggle with that, don't not do anything about it and fly by the seat of your pants and just think it's going to get better. I struggled with, like, if I had a good week, I would take my foot off the gas. I had that problem, and that was inconsistent. Versus being able to say, look, these are I call them non-negotiables. These are things that you have to literally get white pad it. I mean, just white table, white notepad, just write down, this is what I'm willing to do. Because success will require something, right? Can we all agree? Success requires something. So you have to write those things down. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then this is what it's going to require, and what you're willing to do. Big ugly word, require, for 1099 people. But it's a prerequisite to your success are these things. Now, next thing is, are you willing to do these things? Because consistency does not matter if you're not willing to do the things you need to do to hit your goals and hit your metrics and hit your financial goals and your basically the life you want to live. And I always think of the quote, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so with consistency, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So and it requires us to really dig deep, and we have to like uproot all these bad habits. But you have to do that before you can really, if you're going to do this consistently, there's other things in your life that you're going to do consistently, and just bite the bullet. It's going to suck for a while until you make it habit. 21 days to make it habit, Justin? So consistently, I struggled with consistently waking up at the same time, and then I eventually the dump moment made me say, okay, what time am I going to get up? Because I was going out, I was going to happy hour, I was doing stuff, I was chasing girls. All this stuff was going on, and it was just like, oh yeah, it wasn't. And here's the thing: it wasn't the main thing for me for a while. It was like my life was. But what I realized was, like, look, you said it's not always fun. It's not going to be. Who said it's going to be fun? Now, here's the thing: I love helping people. So that's a big driver for me. So the impact part of this was good. So I knew that about myself. But it's not going to be fun, but guess what is fun? Doing something that you learn to master in an inelastic market that's only going to be more and more people in it. And you are in full control of making the money that you want to make for the rest of your life indefinitely, unless you don't work. The only thing, like, you can't get fired unless you do something crazy, right? That will get your license revoked or fired from a company or agency. And if you say, look, if I can learn the daily disciplines, I can be successful every single day. I will make more money every single month, every single year. And this business of passive income will grow and grow and grow. And I know there's nothing that's going to affect this market, because it's, are you going to die or are you not going to die? Of course, people, as the population grows and grows and grows, people get older, there's more and more people that we need to help, more and more families that need our help. So as far as that goes, it's like, it's a no-brainer. So I made a decision to say, hey, I know what this is. I saw, you have to see the big picture before anything, and write down everything that you just need to do. What time you want to wake up, what time you want to go to bed. Are you going to write down your schedule? Are you going to write down your goals? And not just your goals. I like to call them targets, because you're actually aiming for a target, and then because you'll take more intentional action. And then after that, you have to say, again, willingness is the key word here. What are you willing to do? And the answer needs to be whatever it freaking takes, man. Like, the first years of your business, don't think like, oh, like, I'm going to be doing this and I'm going to watch Netflix all the time and I'm going to go, play with my kids 30 hours a week. It's like, there has to be sacrifice somewhere, to get places you've never been, you got to do things you've never done. And it's going to take the first year, like I said, it's tough. So if you're coming from somewhere where you're capped, but maybe, like, you might take a haircut your first year in your income.
I did.
Yeah, exactly. But knowing, why'd you do it?
No, because I didn't want to live at a car dealership, and I knew that eventually my income in this would far surpass what it was, and it has already.
Yeah.
Just a few years.
Yeah. I mean, and he's being very humble. He's actually absolutely crushing it. And it's just like, you have to get extreme. People don't want to talk about extreme, or don't want to talk about it's too hard or it's too much. You have to be willing to take it to an extreme, meaning that meaning extreme focus. This has to be the key is to keep the main thing the main thing. This needs to be the main thing. And you may think it's not, going back to it's not fun. Well, it's fun to live the life that you want. It's fun to drive the car you want to drive. It's fun to live where you want to live, buy what you want to buy, drive what you want to drive, wear what you want to wear, take the trip you want to take, to have travel goals, let your vision board come to life. All this stuff. It's like, retire early, send your kids to whatever school they want, not have to worry about it. Let stress and anxiety from finances and money go away. So it's like, what's that worth to you? It's worth everything to me. And on top of it, I get to help people. It's a no-brainer. So you can't get into it's so hard, it's so difficult, I'm not making the money I want to make my year one or even maybe year two. You have to see the big picture, okay? And if you can pour everything into this business, learn it and do it, and just, I don't want to say the word obsessed, but you kind of got to get obsessed with getting better. Mm-hmm. Everything in your life will begin to improve if you dive into it. You have to almost like if you have an addictive personality, if you're listening to this, get addicted to perfecting this process. Get addicted to doing everything right, because if you do that in this industry, the trajectory is it's very steep. You'll get to where you'll hit six figures possibly in your first year, but very, very soon. And the cool part is there's just no cap. There's no cap to it. There's no ceiling, and that's why people do it. I always wondered, why does someone want to be an insurance agent? Why does someone? It's not sexy at all. It's because of the passive income. It's because you make what you want to. You make whatever you want to make, no limit. So, but you have to get down to the habits.
Yeah, for sure. I think a big part of that, going back to something he said earlier, was it's a get rich slow business. A guy that we're friends with who used to be in the industry told me when I started, it's a get wealthy slow business, because if you look at rich, it's like having some. I think rich is like I have a bunch of money. I think wealthy is like you have a bunch of stuff feeding you money all the time, and that passive income has to take time to grow. Now, you guys are gonna see some people on YouTube and social media who totally crushed it in their first few years or first 5 years, and 100% you can do that. But the majority of people who are successful in this business long term didn't have those rock star super crushing it beginnings, right? The systems are set up now to make it easier for that. Like his dad Rory has an amazing company now, right? We have a beautiful home office that we're at right now, like so many resources and things provided to agents. But this scale of something is not something that someone could do in 5 years, right? Like because of systems that are built, yes, I can build a team, but I couldn't have done it without the support and structure that are there. So what I'm saying is like, you may see some people who have achieved some crazy success in a few years. Don't compare yourself to them as you're going through your journey. Compare yourself to yourself and try to beat yourself, because the only I feel like when I compare myself to someone else, whether it's in the business or in the agency or anything else, if I'm comparing myself to someone else, it's almost like I'm setting the bar too low. So don't let someone else set the bar for you. If you have a motivation to beat someone, and then that's what motivates you. But I'm just saying, like, don't get frustrated if you're not able to, and you're not able to get where someone is as fast as they did. And also, if you're not, and you're like, no, I'm going to do that, then you got to be really, really judge your activity the same way you're judging the results. And I feel if anybody's starting out in the business, you got to set major, high expectations for your action and low income expectations. Like whatever your income expectation is, set it a little lower. And whatever your action expectation is, set it higher. All right? Because like that's what it is. The first year, it's a snowball effect. You're getting that snowball rolling, and you start with one snowflake, and you learn it's a little bit, adds up, and eventually you got this big snowball that's just rolling down the mountain. So that's huge. And Grant,
yeah, I just had something to say on that too, and I just made me of a quote I always say to people when they're starting. I always say what you lack, because when you start, you're going to lack certain things. Don't get neurotic about that. It's part of the process. What you lack in experience or even your skill set, make up with in massive action. You have to be willing to take absolute, massive, obsessive action when you're first starting. And so many people come in. That's why, without that expectation, we try to portray that. Like when we onboard someone, we do a thing called the letter of commitment, where it's like, hey, this is really what it's going to take for your success. It's kind of like, it's a 1099 position. We got to be careful. But what we say is, hey, to be successful, you really kind of need to do these things. So before you onboard, like, are you willing to do these things? It's not like contractual per se. It's just that like. It's like, look, are you willing to do these things? Because it's like a commitment level. And it's like, hey, yes, I'm willing to do these things. So that if they don't do them later, it's like, you're not doing these things. That's why you're not successful. And that's going to take a lot of time off our hands, because it's like, this is literally, it's like on a silver platter. It's like,
exactly.
What I say to you yesterday, I said, we give people the roadmap that says, like, here's the treasure. Yeah. It's like that, like dotted line. And it's like, dig up where the X is. And people are like, I don't want to. I'm tired digging. I forgot my shovel, or I can't. They dig like 5 times. Like, oh man, I'm tired. It's like the treasure's there. So the roadmap is there. That's the cool part, is that the roadmap is there. It's super simple. It's not complex at all. But you have to have a certain discipline that you have to build. Because discipline for most people, some people are self-disciplined. I'm not naturally self-disciplined. That's why I have to. I write out a schedule like this every single week to make sure, like, hey, this is what you're doing. This is when you're doing this. It sounds crazy, and maybe I'm a little crazy, but I have to do that to make sure everything that I need to get done in my week gets done. Then I feel fulfilled. Then happy chemicals are going. Then I am able to wake up every day with more purpose, getting more done, feeling good about everything I'm doing, and I'm making the progress I need to make. And I think if you're listening to this and you're not having the progress that you want, you have to humble yourself enough to hear the truth and tell yourself the truth, to say, what are my missing structures? Everyone has missing structures. A lot of it's structure itself many times. But what are my missing structures within my business and my personal life? Because they are intertwined, right? Especially in this business. You have to ask, what am I missing? And what are the hindrances to my success? This is a hard one. Some people are living, with a current addiction, and they're like in denial that is preventing them from success, for instance. Or there's something, or negativity, or or toxic relationship. Like there's something that is holding you back from you and your destiny, from you and your success. You have to find out what that is. That's your responsibility to do that. Because once you say, hey, it's 1, 2, and 3. It's my phone. I'm scrolling through TikTok reels all day, or Instagram stories, or I'm doing all this. You have to expose the thing that's holding you back first. Don't try to be successful with any of this stuff if you haven't done that first. That's a prerequisite. Now, I call it like spring cleaning. You have to do your own spring cleaning and be honest with yourself. Once you do that and you clear the way, then you pave the way there, then we really take a deep dive into some of this other stuff, into the daily disciplines. And I don't care who you are, you have to have a regimented schedule. My dad always said, son, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, don't do anything. Like, just like go to bed on, like keep it super regimented. Like, don't go out, don't go drinking, don't go do this, don't go do that. Stop doing stuff during your week. Do it Friday and Saturday. You know, obviously there's special occasions, but he said for years what made my dad successful in the 41 years and 23 years of being a top salesperson himself personally, you know, he said Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, he was just an absolute machine. He was an absolute machine, and he just did it. It's not like he was working 15-hour days. You know, he was working like 12-hour days, 10, 12-hour days, but he was so regimented on those times. And and I said, Dad, would you say it was your schedule? He was like, oh, it was just I did it every day. There was no question. There was no, I just did it every day, and there was nothing that was going to get in my way. So for you, don't let anything get in your way. You know, and it's tough if it's something negative. It could be a negative spouse, and that's a challenge. But you have to find out what's holding you back from you and your success honestly, and write down some of your distractions and learn how we can get rid of them. And then that opens up the way to be humble, be coachable, and be hungry. I don't care about how much experience anyone has. Give me someone who is humble, hungry, coachable, and has half a personality, and we can make you successful, right, Justin?
Exactly, 100%. And that's really all it takes, right? It's like you don't have to have a special degree. You don't have to have anything like that. Like, this business is made for the man or woman who's going to outwork the other one. And that's just really what it comes down to. So I appreciate having Grant on the channel today. I get to hear from him just about every day.
I'm tired of it.
You guys get to hear from him here. Grant, if someone wants to talk with Grant further, pick his brain a little bit, ask him any questions, maybe have a little consultation with him, or ask him what it's like to work with him, and just check in the description of the video. I'm going to have his email there, and I'm going to have a link posted that you can fill out.
Get my Insta, too.
Yeah, his Instagram. I'll put his Instagram in there.
Name,
his name, Grant Dougherty, spelled Grant Dougherty, but it's pronounced Dougherty.
Yeah, Dougherty, so just one word. Yeah, on the Insta.
Yep. So I'll put that in the description of the video. I'll also throw it up on the video right here. So I appreciate everybody attending here today. I hope you thank Grant too. And you guys are going to want to check out this next video we have coming up that'll help you as a new insurance agent.